You're listening to the PAZNIA Radio Network.
Vonu means relative physical invulnerability to coercion. Vonu is a contraction of voluntary and not vulnerable. Vonu is somewhat like freedom or security, but those words mean many different things to different people. Rather than argue about what those words ought to mean, I speak of Vonu. Coercion includes murder, mayhem, slavery, robbery, rape, extortion, pollution, any physical interference with peaceful activities of another, whether by individuals or organizations. Coercion, especially institutionalized forms such as war, regimentations, and taxes, is one of the major problems of mankind. Practically all past attempts at solution have been top-down efforts to change society as a whole. Since the days of Babylon, there have been countless attempts to reform governments, take over governments, destroy governments, and manipulate public opinion. At most, such efforts bring temporary relief. Usually they have little effect. Often, they make matters worse. Vonu life represents a different approach to the problem. Vonu life does not waste space scolding government officials or proclaiming how society ought to be. Vonu life speaks to you as an individual or small group and suggests ways you can avoid exploiting and being exploited. As you reduce the vulnerability, not only do you help yourself, indirectly you also help others by decreasing support of criminal institutions. Vonu is not necessarily only a few. Vonu will expand as there are more people willing to do. A Vonuan is a person who has achieved relative invulnerability to coercion. There are many kinds. Some live in the wilderness, where outsiders rarely go. Others live under the earth. Others move from place to place, living in vans, campers, buses, boats, or tents. Some have been Vonu for ages, people such as gypsies, mountain men, hobos, Seminoles. Others are recent refugees from the dying cities. This issue describes some of the equipment and techniques used. In future issues, I hope you'll add your knowledge to what is in here. Vonu life. How to live and let live, out of sight and minds of those unwilling to let live, by people who are doing it. To order your paperback copy today, just visit libertyunderattack.com/Vonu life. Again, libertyunderattack.com/Vonu life. Or to download this publication for free, visit VonuPodcast.com/VL.
While infrastructure costs for the PAZNIA Radio Network aren't exorbitant now, there are some costs. It will also increasingly demand more time as we move towards longer transmissions and more transmissions. If you'd like to help cover current costs and even the expansion of our efforts, please visit PAZNIA.com/shop. There, you can make a one-time fiat, Bitcoin, or Monero donation. You can become a stakeholder, and you can even order some one-of-a-kind PAZNIA merch, ranging from shirts to hats to flags, all the way to beach towels. Again, that link at PAZNIA.com/shop. Cheers from the Free Republic.
Now that the technological foundation is laid for the PAZNIA Radio Network, we are now ready to start building out a regular and more frequent transmission schedule of self-liberational media. Do you want to host your own show on the PAZNIA Radio Network? Do you already have a show or podcast that you would like premiered or replayed during our transmissions? Something else? Reach out to Coordinator Rayo to discuss details. Email coordinator@PAZNIA.com. Again, coordinator@PAZNIA.com. See you in the second realm.
Hello, friends, fellow self-liberators. Dr. Gatherer here, coming to you with a health and wellness message. The Pain Liberator, Miracle Muscle Pain Reliever, is now back in stock at libertyunderattack.com for your basic aches and pains, to more extensive injuries and even pains like headaches or migraines. The Pain Liberator is here to liberate you from discomfort. The Pain Liberator is a 20% DMSO, dimethyl sulfoxide, /80% colloidal silver water base, blended with enough aspirin to provide 30 milligrams of aspirin per spray. Beyond just pain relief, all three of these main ingredients provide enormous benefit to the body in general. DMSO also helps to bring the aspirin and colloidal silver into the skin for maximum bioavailability. Individual benefits include colloidal silver is antibacterial, antifungal, used for sore throats, sinus problems, tooth infections, and candida overgrowths. DMSO has over 40 known pharmacological properties, helps with acne, heals shingles, is radio/EMF protective, painkiller, and heals stroke and heart attack damage. Aspirin is one of the safest, cheapest miracle drugs in existence. Searching PubMed, it assists with basically every disease or imbalance, from muscle pain to reversing cancerous tumors and everything in between. Spray directly on head for headaches. The Pain Liberator is available via Liberty Under Attack publications. Just visit libertyunderattack.com/pain to place your order today. PayPal, Bitcoin, and Monero accepted. For Monero, email shane@libertyunderattack.com. The Pain Liberator, Miracle Muscle Pain Reliever, a PAZNIA Department of Health and Wellness creation. libertyunderattack.com/pain.
You're listening to the PAZNIA Radio Network.
All right.
Hey guys, how's it going?
All right, Polycarp. Welcome, brother. Welcome.
It's so great to be here. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, you're coming through good. I'm just definitely gotta fix that. For some reason, this machine lowers volumes automatically. I don't have control over it, at least not yet. But yeah, bear with me, folks, for just a moment. Mr. Producer is doing it live now, so I got to make sure we are all good in all areas, and I think we are. I will check one other thing, and yes, we are good. So we'll go ahead and get rolling. Welcome to the Vonu Podcast live here on the PAZNIA Radio Network. I'm your host, Shane, Rayo2, coming to you from the Veritas node of the Free Republic of PAZNIA. To learn more about this, or to get more involved with this burgeoning IRL parallel network, just visit PAZNIA, PAZNIA.com. Now, I do believe this is the first ever live edition of Free Energy Friday. There was one episode that ran a few times when I was initially testing out restreaming platforms, different setups, etc. But yes, the first time with you here live for Free Energy Friday here on the PAZNIA Radio Network. PAZNIA.com/radio is the main link for all things PRN. You can find our weekly streaming schedule, links, embedded players to stream, ways to donate, ways to reach out, and much more. If I may make a recommendation while you're there, join our PAZNIA Radio Network chat on Simplex, and then navigate on over to xmrchat.com/PAZNIA Radio and leave us a Monero donation and a message to read on the show. We're also live. Actually, no, we aren't live on Zap.stream because that platform has been very unreliable as of the past couple of months. But hopefully they'll get their shit together soon. We'll be able to see over there and all that. But anyway, you can also, I guess, for the time being, you can boost the Vonu Podcast on Podcasting 2.0. That's lightning enabled. That would be via Fountain Podcast, Fountain FM, or an app like Podverse. Regardless, please do consider financially supporting the Second Realm and the PAZNIA Radio Network as we embark on our mission to deprogram the world, or I guess propagandize the world. However you want to think about it, it's good propaganda. But anyway, we're also looking for more shows to fill out our Self-Liberation Saturday schedule and to further our propaganda efforts. At present, we've still got a couple of remaining slots for a live show. That's 2 to 3:30 Eastern, 1 to 2:30 Central. That would be right before Cloak and Dagger. With my fan on. Hopefully that didn't not coming through on the mic. But yeah, that'd be right before Cloak and Dagger with Thane Riddle, or 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 to 9 p.m. Central. The only caveat for the Saturday primetime show is like tomorrow evening. I might take a slot here and there. Otherwise, there are usually at least a couple primetime Saturdays available if anyone's interested. Just send me an email, coordinator@PAZNIA.com, or DM wherever is convenient. But please do, if you're interested, consider joining the PAZNIA Radio Network. With that out of the way, let's get on to this discussion. A couple weeks ago, I had the pleasure of speaking with Shadrach, a colleague and a friend on a Vonu Podcast Live, the first ever Vonu Podcast Live here on the PAZNIA Radio Network. Shadrach and friends are doing a lot of amazing work in physical space and time with mesh networking, Bitcoin, logistics, and more. Towards the end of that discussion, his friend, colleague Polycarp Nakomoto joined and dropped a couple of subjects worthy of rabbit hole sorts of investigations. He just hopped in casually for the last 30 minutes and just kind of like, I don't know, I'll speak for myself, kind of blew my mind. I think he kind of blew Thane's mind too. But anyway, I guess most prominently on the eCash and Cashu subject. After this show, definitely do head over to VonuPodcast.com and find that discussion, that last episode of Vonu Podcast Live, if you haven't already. Anyway, I'll start with the basics if you're new. But to summarize briefly, Cashu and the topic of eCash, and I guess a way to conceptualize it is Layer 3 Bitcoin, have truly astounding implications when it comes to vetted networks like PAZNIA. There are trade-offs, but at the same time, like we're already building something that's kind of that this kind of works really, really nicely into, integrates very nicely into. It might even lead us to our cypherpunk holy land of a truly decentralized monetized mesh network. So yeah, there's a lot there in just that sentence to get into. So I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully you are too. I'll check chat here in just a moment once I bring Polycarp in. But regardless, an hour into the show, that'd be 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, we'll be taking your calls. The link to call in is PAZNIA.CHAT/PRN. Again, PAZNIA.CHAT/PRN. That will deliver you into our self-hosted Jitsi room. Just configure audio and microphone settings, and you should be able to get your questions or comments in no problem. You can also leave comments on YouTube, Odyssey, or in the PAZNIA Radio Network Simplex chat, and I should hopefully get to them as we get through this show. But yeah, if you want to join the PAZNIA Simplex chat, just go to PAZNIA.com/Simplex Radio. Again, PAZNIA.com/Simplex Radio. And I will say the PAZNIA chat's been blowing up lately with exactly the sorts of discussions we're going to have tonight. And going into further with things like airships and hydrogen solar-powered balloons, like mesh network balloons, like mesh node balloons, like all sorts of really cool shit. Like integrating the Free Energy Friday sort of topic with this very, it's a very noble goal, but a noble goal of this decentralized monetized network that we're seeking to build. But yeah, lots of great stuff in all areas. But without further ado, Polycarp, my friend, welcome to the Vonu Podcast Live here on the PAZNIA Radio Network. How are you doing this evening, my friend?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm having a fantastic night, and I'm really excited to chat about some of the topics that you mentioned.
Oh yeah, huge topics. Seriously important topics. For sure. So I guess before we get into, you sent over a really terrific outline. I put together outlines for shows, but yours is I wasn't exactly sure, and I'm very, very appreciative that you put that together, because now I can see where all of this beyond even what I was. I guess my deep dive on Cashu was basically 12 or 14 hours of Cali podcasts. That's CALLE on X, and I guess probably Nostr too, if folks are familiar. But that's where my deep dive into this sort of subject went, or I guess started. And it's pretty great. But before we get there, man, I want to get to know you a little bit. Obviously, this is a privacy focused podcast, so however much you want to share, however little, it's all good. But I kind of want to get to know you and how you got into these sorts of things, especially like freedom technology, Bitcoin, mesh networking. Kind of give us a little insight on you and your background, if you could.
Yeah, absolutely. It all started in 2016, and I was looking for a solution in order to escape the fiat banking system. That was really important to me at the time, and I couldn't quite figure it out. Everything that I was using and everything that I was researching kept pointing me back to the idea that there is no escape, that we have to play by the Monopoly board game rules, and there's no other games to play. Because even if I lived entirely off of gold and silver, I would still be under the price manipulation of the Federal Reserve Bank. And, the paper gold and the paper Bitcoin, or paper Bitcoin, paper gold and paper silver, that really prevents you from being able to see the true value of an asset, because everything is, skewed. Everything is contaminated with interest and just the fiat paradigm, as we like to call it. And so I'm a very spiritual person, and I was in that moment, I was praying, and I was asking God to show me the way out. How do we move past this, right? And in that moment, I got a picture in my mind, and the letters, numbers were JR844. And I thought to myself, what in the world is that? It didn't look like anything that I would recognize. And so I went on to Google and I searched it. And the first thing that pulled up was a podcast with Andreas Antonopoulos talking for 3 hours about how Bitcoin is the way out of the Monopoly game, how this is the one system that could defeat the banks and break our reliance on, on that system. And that was what started it all for me. I spent the next year just researching as much as I could, all about how Bitcoin works, all about the tech. I learned a number of tech concepts just from Bitcoin alone. But what really gave me the perspective and the vision and the inspiration I needed was Bitcoin mining. Immediately, I saw the value of that and the governance and the dynamics of having democracy without a leader, so to speak. And so it was really, it was a pivotal time in my life where I was deciding how I wanted to live. And I just knew it didn't include a central bank. I didn't have time for fiat in my life. And so that's how I found Bitcoin.
Yeah. Oh, that's great, man. That's great. I can certainly relate on Andreas Antonopoulos. I guess it would probably been around 2018 or so when I guess it was my descent or ascent into Bitcoin maximalism, however people want to view that. It's very much a subjective opinion, but he was one of the ones that drove me, headlong into like understanding the value of Bitcoin, and it just layer one Bitcoin. The critical problems it solved, and how it is, government hard money to a very, very large extent. And obviously there have been some weakening factors over the years and all, which has led to innovations and different layers of Bitcoin. And I will say, I wouldn't even, like the conversation we had last time, or I guess when you hopped in with Shadrach, I wouldn't have even been able to conceptualize that, because like it really is hard, because you go like main chain of Bitcoin, and then getting into Lightning. I thankfully earlier this year I set up my own Bitcoin node on the Ghost server and a Lightning node, and then started messing around with Lightning. And I don't think I could have been ready for this conversation. And before, you have to kind of abstract yourself from the main Bitcoin chain, I guess, for this conversation to a certain extent. And there are trade-offs involved. Thane mentioned that in the last conversation. There are trade-offs, and we'll talk about that as we go through this. But yeah, I guess let's go ahead and let's get into this. Let's quit waste. Let's get into it. But I guess you sent over a really great outline, and I guess we have to kind of start with we're gonna be talking a lot about solutions, but we want to get everyone on the same page as us to begin with. So we got to talk about the problems. And you mentioned Web 1 through Web 5. So I guess could you kind of give us kind of the high level overview of the problems and why we're building the solutions that we are today?
Yeah, absolutely. I really see the internet having three main problems. The first one is there's no free speech. The second one is that there's no ownership, and there's also no centralization. I'm sorry, there's too much centralization. There's no decentralization. And what I mean by that is, with free speech, everything that I say is permissioned on these platforms. And so if I make a post on x.com, if I post something on YouTube, that my speech can just be taken away in an instant, and they don't even need to tell me why. The ownership aspect of this, I I mean, if I buy a domain name, what am I really buying? It's more like leasing a domain name, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even the phone number and the email address that we use to sign up doesn't belong to us. We don't own uh, that data that is attached to the phone number or the email address. And so the internet has a real problem, which is that you have to trust a third party, and you even have to trust a third party for access to the internet. We pay an internet service provider $50 to $150 a month for
Mm-hmm.
access to the internet, whether we use the full bandwidth or not, right? And they can block our access at any time. They can monitor us. It's a real problem when you give somebody else all of the power and you have no agency for yourself. And that's what we've
Right.
done with the internet. We've just signed all the user agreements, just let everything go. Don't worry about the ramifications. I'm going to post family photos for everyone to see on Facebook. We just really have been goosenecked into a surveillance state. And it seems like there's no escape until Bitcoin came along.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a really good way to put it. And harken back to the conversation with Shadrach. That's kind of where we started our conversation. Was he had I guess maybe a decade longer in the decentralized peer-to-peer internet of like maybe the 80s. But yeah, I got like early 2000s. I got kind of the LimeWire. I got the the LimeWire and peer-to-peer Skype when Skype was kind of gray market, when it was actually kind of illegal until it was bought out by Microsoft. So I got kind of the ass end of the decentralized version of it. And it used to be like that's how it, things were peer-to-peer. It wasn't about .com like commerce. It wasn't essentially about like everything being put behind a paywall. It was supposed to be like a free and open thing, and that is not what the internet is today. Most certainly not. So I guess that kind of that paints a pretty good picture. That the Bitcoin plays a major role in this. I guess the question to open this, I guess maybe to open this up, that some of the listeners might be thinking about is, well, how can Bitcoin be the solution for like the internet? Like where are we going here? Because all people hear about is the blocks are full and the fees are high and Lightning's too complicated. So like where are we going here? Like what's the how does Bitcoin fall into this into the realm of the solution?
Yeah, we're really lucky that people are underestimating Bitcoin so much, and they think that Bitcoin has all these problems, because the people who would be the biggest threats to Bitcoin, they just don't believe that it's a threat yet. And so we're able to build in stealth, if you will. Ultimately, Bitcoin has its own physical network. It's a network of computer servers that are run voluntarily. The servers are open source, and there's nobody coordinating this thing that we call Bitcoin. And I think the biggest problem that we have is people don't understand really what Bitcoin is. Bitcoin is a 5-layer network. It's a network made up of an energy layer. We have infrastructure that has been put in place to power Bitcoin miners. We have the information layer. You have Bitcoin nodes and the node runners, people who are running a node in their house, and they're sharing information and syncing information. You have the communications layer, which currently is TCP/IP. Personally, I would like to see that change, but we can only change so many things at one time. And then we have the monetary layer, which is the bearer instrument Bitcoin on chain. And then you have the payments network layer, which would be Lightning, Fedi, Arc, some of those things liquid. And so when we look at Bitcoin as a 5-layer solution, it immediately is obvious why Bitcoin has so many network effects. and why it's going to be so hard for some other cryptocurrency, some other coin, some other currency to come out and dethrone Bitcoin. I believe it is because of the 5 network effects that Bitcoin has that makes it unique.
Yeah. Okay. That's yeah. That's That's great. That's fascinating. Yeah. No. That fits. Yeah. I'm tracking. So I suppose I mentioned when I was kind of introducing these subjects that like so Lightning would be layer 2 of Bitcoin, and things like eCash and Fedimint, like the hardcore Bitcoin maximalists who won't even touch Lightning because it's not real Bitcoin, quote unquote. There's no way in hell. And I guess this is kind of I will, and I guess again like it took kind of integrate like working with Lightning a bit, and I would say Fountain Podcast helped with that too. Having some Bitcoin Lightning to play around with. Was it's made a lot of this testing much easier, getting that from donations via podcasts like Lightning Podcast 2.0. It's really great, but for a lot of folks like this what's I guess Cali kind of, I guess it's quote unquote layer 3 Bitcoin, but it's not really there's no settlement on the main chain, or whatever. I guess so. I guess the overall, I guess the more general question here to get us going, I guess could you talk about how eCash generally differs from Lightning 2, or I guess layer 2 Lightning Bitcoin, and then kind of branch out into because it's eCash from that point branches into Cashu, it branches into Fedimints, it branches into all sorts of things. So build lay us a foundation here if you could.
Yeah, absolutely. So the monetary layer of Bitcoin, the bearer instrument, Bitcoin on chain, that has a fee attached to it. It's slow, takes 10 minutes to confirm. I still think that's fast, but
Same, yeah.
ultimately the on-chain Bitcoin is not good for every situation. It has pros and cons. I really like on-chain. I don't really use Lightning very much because of the custodial nature. At least in America, there's not a lot of good options for a non-custodial Lightning wallet. Running your node and Zeus wallet seems to be the best way to get into Lightning at this point. But ultimately, Bitcoin is, I believe, enhanced by other payment networks. And if we think back to some of the things that we love about Bitcoin Pizza Day, well, what was that? Some guy took Bitcoin and bought pizza by using a third party to make that pizza transaction. And we celebrate that. So the idea that you'll just use on-chain for absolutely everything all the time, I don't think that that's reasonable. I believe there are going to be payment networks of either people or computers that give Bitcoin different attributes so that you can use Bitcoin in all of the different ways that we need to use it. And so that would be the introduction to why we need these payment networks and what makes them valuable.
Yeah. Yeah, certainly. We've got a couple folks here in the Jitsi, in our Jitsi chat, PAZNIA.CHAT/PRN. Maybe they're just listening. It is the only way to listen to an audio version of the PAZNIA Radio Network right now. Everything else is high definition video thrown to the platform. So it is an option for folks who just drop in here and listen. So long as it does not deteriorate the quality of the podcast, is a self-hosted and all. But if I guess we'll get to we've got a lot of groundwork to lay. For anyone that's here, please do stick around if you've got questions or whatever. We'll get to those here in about half an hour. You can also go to our PAZNIA Radio SimpleX chat, if you would like, or go to xmrchat.com/PAZNIA Radio to make a Monero donation. Leave your message there. But anyway, so I guess what really drew me to, because obviously I like the ultimate, and I guess the anarchistic freedom of Bitcoin, right? Where there are no, well, I guess there are always trade-offs, but no, I guess it's not even a good way to put it, because there are trade-offs in all areas. But I don't know.
One thing I really like about Fedimint is it's kind of like community custody. right? I'm not trusting just some faceless organization. I'm trusting my uncle or my aunt to not steal my Bitcoin. And there's going to be a lot of people that need that. There's going to be a lot of people where if they're new to Bitcoin, they're just learning, Fedi will be the easiest way to receive, spend, and use Bitcoin. You can use it for AI prompts. You can use it off grid if the lights go out. There's a lot of interesting things you can do with Fedimint. I understand why some people don't like it, but ultimately it is self-custody. You have to run your own servers, your own Bitcoin nodes to run Fedimint. And so if the end result is people trusting family members and community members with small amounts of cash and running more Bitcoin nodes, I'm all for it. Running a Bitcoin node is like the most maxi thing in the world. Let's
Yeah,
do it.
no, for sure, and I mean, people are, your average Joe is, choosing a random Electrum server that's probably operated by Chainalysis versus, even if they aren't running their own, even if they aren't doing it themselves, if they're tossing it off to someone they can trust, or the way that Callie put it is like, if the funds from the mint disappear, you know who to punch. That's where like
Exactly.
that's where like if the funds from the mint, like, so, and I guess this is where, like, I would like to get to, and I'm sure we there's still some parts we haven't gone to, but hopefully they'll become clear as we keep talking over the next hour or so. But I guess talk to us about like the physical, so I guess my experience with eCash was I tried, there was I guess there were a couple different, there's the Cashu web wallet that I tried out. There was oh gosh, what was the let me see here if I wrote down the other wallets. But anyway, I tried out a few different wallets, just to kind of get an idea of how Cashu, or I guess Fedimints, or this eCash, how it worked, and it feels just like Bitcoin. I find it with Lightning, but atomic sauce between any altcoin or shitcoin. Yeah, people want to think about it. My understanding, any of that is that can be atomic swapped over to to a mint. And funds are transferable between mint to mint, but you kind of have to have a little trust that, again, that the mint is not going to take that the mint's going to fulfill your send request to the other mint. So I guess if you could probably do this a lot better than I can, like kind of lay out for folks how the architecture of this sort of network works, per se.
Yeah, absolutely. So the concept is you'll have a Bitcoin node like an Umbrel server or a Start9 server, and you'll run the Cashu eCash mint on that server. So if you're listening to this and you're just totally lost, imagine you are running a Bitcoin node and you can place Bitcoin into a wallet that will give you what is essentially like a warehouse receipt for that Bitcoin that can be traded privately, securely, off grid, peer to peer, from wallet to wallet, without ever touching the on-chain balance of Bitcoin. That Bitcoin stays in the Bitcoin node that you're running the Cashu mint on or the Fedimint on. And this is very interesting from a tax perspective, because if you have a private community selling vegetables to each other from their garden, you don't actually have a taxable event. The Bitcoin never leaves the community server, right? The Bitcoin node that serves that community is holding that Bitcoin, and it's totally private as to who holds that Bitcoin on that server. There's also messaging and many more features that can be done on these Fedimint servers. Cashu is more streamlined, simple. Fedimint gives you more options. But ultimately, this is meant for quick transactions privately, where there is trust involved. And if you don't trust the person, you can very quickly turn these warehouse receipts into on-chain Bitcoin that go back into your wallet or Lightning. So it's very easy to get onto the on-ramps or the off-ramps of Fedimint eCash. And because it gives Bitcoin unique properties, you can use Bitcoin in very different ways than we previously could. As an example, because of the off-grid eCash property of, Fediman eCash, I can actually spend Bitcoin even with no internet connection. That is something that Bitcoin needs, because if it's dependent upon the internet, then that's its greatest vulnerability, right? And so that off-grid aspect to Bitcoin, it enables Bitcoin to be used as not just payment settlement, but data settlement from one peer to the other. In the future, in our vision of the internet, what we think would be the ultimate Bitcoin-based internet, you'll send data that will have a balance attached to it. It will have eCash attached to the data. And as the data is sent from one Bitcoin node to the other, it is leaving behind little microtransactions in Bitcoin. So we recreate the mining circular economy with eCash traveling through Bitcoin nodes on its way to the destination. And that's something that was not possible before until eCash.
Yeah, that's great, and this takes me back to, and again, this is I had a conversation with I guess kind of the second, like one of the two second realm OGs, Smuggler's one of them, and Frank Braun's the other, and I interviewed Frank Braun back in 2019, and I guess arguably in my opinion those are kind of some of the OGs, but did an episode and he talked about something called Script Cash. Which, and I'm not even going to try to, but it was an eCash system, but I was not in the position there to understand what the hell he was trying to convey. And I don't think the mesh networking part of it was actually integrated in it. But it sounds very, very similar to what we talked about back in October of 2019. Crazy. Crazy.
If it cost you like a fraction of a penny to access your email account, would you care?
Hell no.
Would no. No one would care, but it would stop AI dead in its tracks from being able to hack your account, because it would need to have the eCash balance there available to be able to attack your server.
Right.
And so by adding these payment barriers to data transmission, you are essentially securing the internet from someone just crawling or worming their way through every computer network on Earth.
Yeah, no, that's great. No, there's nothing I hate more than just seeing a goddamn bot crawling every single page of my website. Websites. But yeah, no, I get what you're saying. No, for sure. That's great. And I guess what I'll emphasize here for folks is, there are trade-offs. Like the, PAZNIA network, there's, if you use, if you go to PAZNIA.com you just go to PAZNIA.com and hit the services and marketplaces tab. And you can utilize our own, our own dojo, our PAZNIA dojo. If you would like to use Ashigara and do any, whirlpooling or anything, you can trust us to do that. You can also trust, there are dozen sites on the internet. There's a public dojo website now. So who are you going to trust? It's kind of like it's up to you. If you aren't going to do if you aren't going to do it yourself, I guess the thing is, you're making a choice there. But when it comes to privacy, this is where the advantages are great, and this is where the hardcore, the folks who are who aren't like maximalists, they use Bitcoin a lot, but they never use on chain. They use Lightning. So that automatically, for one, Uri Bednar, he was one of the founders of Parallelny Polis over in Prague, and he talked about that some too, and it's like and his book, and also when he was on, it's like I wasn't even into Lightning at that time, but the people who are hardcore into privacy, they were using Lightning, and I think a lot of them now are moving into kind of the eCash or kind of Fediment's sort of route.
There's nothing more private than eCash. And there's some use cases where it becomes really apparent that this is a good thing. The trade-off is worth it. So we just started a food truck recently that accepts Bitcoin, and everything is eCash and Lightning compatible. And while we were opening the food truck for our opening day, the internet at our office where we have all of the servers just went down. It was just like a tree branch, freak accident, fell on the power lines, and we had no internet. And so our Lightning node, all of our BTC Pay server stuff, just everything just halted, except for eCash. eCash was the one thing that people could mint and pay with, and there was no friction, and it didn't matter if our servers were online or offline. And so when the internet came back on and everything synced up, all of the eCash turned into Lightning, and there we go. We were just fine. We didn't skip a beat. So it makes total sense for a business to run their own Fedi Mint or Cashu Mint and to offer eCash to their customers in reward points and all kinds of stuff. And the best part is if someone loses their eCash, the Bitcoin is still on the server. It's still on the Bitcoin node. It hasn't moved. And so you really get to use Bitcoin to its fullest extent without having to hold everyone's hands and put training wheels on it. It's almost like this is the most Bitcoin thing you could ever use. But yeah.
Yeah, I love it, man. I love it. So, like, you mentioned, and that was a great practical teaser. We got a couple things to get to before we get to Lab 484 in the outline, and that I'm extremely looking forward to, because that's where we can get into kind of the Free Energy Friday topics too, to tease that. But I'll mention again, PAZNIA.CHAT /PRN if you'd like to call in and ask Polycarp a question, or me a question, or you got comments, anything like that. We do appreciate that. The PAZNIA Radio Network chat on Simplex. Please do check that out. I'll grab that link in a moment. But anyway, we do want to hear from you. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of PAZNIA Radio Network. But anyway, the next thing you have here, and it's AB Fleet, where we're talking about this. You're already kind of talking about the circular Bitcoin economy, SAS for tasks, and node base. Which you also kind of talked about the node base too, where I think the way that you put it in the last time you're on here is you're trying to get everyone onto the same technological stack as easy as you can, and this is I guess one way that you found to be able to do that. So yeah, I guess anything on the AB Fleet section of the outline that you had in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. So A to B Fleet is really one of the best examples of utilizing the new technologies found in Bitcoin to solve everyday problems, right? All of us have more work than we can actually do. It'd be great if someone could help us with common tasks like painting a fence, and you're willing to pay people in Bitcoin. Maybe you have some rare artwork that you want to be delivered carefully and ensure that it gets there, in one piece, so to speak. That is something that Bitcoin actually gives us solutions for, and it makes the post office obsolete. It makes FedEx obsolete. And so A to B Fleet is a new type of transportation and job board that you can use to find people who are willing to work for Bitcoin, for sats, and they're able to deliver products, they're able to fulfill tasks, and it starts with someone running a Bitcoin node in a location that is set up for this type of work. And individuals can show up, use Nostr to build their reputation, receive eCash payments from the mint of that location. And once they have enough reputation to be able to go out into the world and fulfill tasks, they are basically dojoing out of that node-based location, wherever the node is, the A to B node. And so that node is the job list, it's the workflow board, and people can sign up for tasks and get paid in Bitcoin in real time as soon as the task is completed.
That's fucking amazing. So I'm not sure. I'll just say this: that so PAZNIA.com /list is our low tech integration of our sort of like Craigslist, which has something like this on something like this on there. But the end goal, like with Vonu being foundation upon nomads, I've always been super into the data mule idea. I've always been super into just with the PAZNIA Department of Transportation, like our own logistics network. And this is how Shadrach and I got in contact. Actually, was that avenue. He was the one that pointed out to me that, hey, like the Department of Transportation and the Department of Communications are kind of the same thing. Start thinking about it as such, dummy. He didn't say that, but that's kind of how it. Okay, of course, yeah, of course, they're connected. So yeah, no, that's amazing, and there's so much more networking that has to be done for PAZNIA. But that is kind of the goal. Definitely not as built out tech wise. I love to hear it. I love to hear it. So I guess the next thing here, decentralized identity, DIDs and VCs, Nostr. Actually, no. So I guess that I'm glad Nostr was mentioned there. But yeah, Nostr is a really cool add-on here. And Nostr wasn't on the top of my list. It wasn't on the top of my list, 6 months ago. But on Zap.stream, you set up your own your login is your NSEC and your the public thing is your npub. So it's connected to Nostr. It was super effing cool. I went and put that into Amethyst, and everything that's ever happened on PAZNIA Radio Network on Zap.stream is archived there. Like all of the zaps, all of the messages, just automatically. And it was really really cool in terms of I don't know. I like it for something public like PAZNIA Radio Network. That's fantastic.
There's a couple of things about Nostr that are really, really interesting. The first one is that it utilizes the same type of technology as Bitcoin as far as public and private keys. It feels very Bitcoin-esque, right? And that's really important because Bitcoin does give us many solutions for the future in just one coin.
Yeah, certainly.
Sorry, that was a really loud truck that just went by. The lab in Austin, Texas, we are not soundproof, that's for sure. We can definitely hear outside noise. But so Nostr's architecture of having relays is a huge, huge deal. Most people, I think, they miss this about Nostr. They think, oh, it's cool, you've got public and private keys. But ultimately, Nostr has a relay system, a network of relays that are basically dumb servers. That's all they do is relay information. And right now, if you're using your computer and visiting a website, that website has tons of computing power, much more computing power than you have. They have a big server behind that website. And so we're constantly at a disadvantage because our computers are not as powerful. It can't run the same analytics as these servers. And so it's not a peer-to-peer system with our current internet architecture. But Nostr actually puts all of the compute power on your device, and it makes the server do nothing more than just relay information from one location to the other. And when we talk about mesh networks, when we talk about decentralized internet and decentralized identity, Nostr is showing us the way, and it's using the architecture that Bitcoin gave us.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. No, that's great. That ties into the decentralized identity part. As well, the next part, how the Nostr could provide that layer. But I mean, we're talking about public, private key infrastructure. We're getting back to kind of like I love PGP. So like that's all we're kind of it's which Bitcoin's kind of the public and private area, and that's exactly the same model that Nostr is built off of, and it feels the exact same as you go into eCash. So it is a process. For me, I've been into this shit. Like I did an episode on Bitcoin mesh networking with what was his name? Oh God, I remember. I can't really think of his name. Richard something or other. For one of the bigger mesh network Bitcoin projects that gets most of their funding from government now. So I've been into this stuff for a long time, but this is huge. This is truly huge. So let's get into. We're talking all about Bitcoin, and this is where we're going to seemingly change technological directions, but we really aren't. when we go into the mesh networking part. So we talked about the the monetization part, the identity, the kind of open source circular Bitcoin economy. Mesh networking plays into this too, right? Into this entire picture. Web 5 Bitcoin nodes, mesh tasking and reticulum, which will be a big topic tomorrow when Jamie Peconic is here on the Vonu Podcast live here on the PAZNIA Radio Network. And then the Lightning Network too plays a part in this. So yeah, mesh networks. Let's get into it.
Yeah, I think my favorite thing about mesh networks is it actually encourages collaboration, communication, and decentralization all in one thing. It's like mesh networks was made for Bitcoin. Like Bitcoin mesh networks go together really, really well. And the reason why is because Bitcoin is already a giant worldwide mesh network. As soon as you plug in your Bitcoin node, it is reaching out like octopus arms out into the internet, trying to connect, trying to find other Bitcoin nodes. And so the Bitcoin itself is already the greatest mesh network. The only problem is we're paying some third party to allow us to connect. That is the biggest problem that I believe Bitcoin has. It's not JPEGs. It's not Core versus knots. It's not any of the things. It's not quantum computers. Most of the stuff people are concerned about is a non-issue. The issue is how is my Bitcoin node going to sync with other Bitcoin nodes when the internet goes down? And that is what we have to solve. We cannot rely on these third parties to connect our nodes.
Yeah. No, that's definitely true. That's definitely true. So, I suppose in terms of like a practical question, and Shadrach talked some about this, and you talked about it some on the last podcast, I think. But I don't know. I guess practically speaking, yeah. So I guess we'll get this ties into the Lab 484 stuff. So the Bitcoin, the mesh networking, for dense locations like Austin, Texas, for example. So like mesh networking is a lot easier in areas like that, and you've expanded to some pretty and I don't even know all of these things. Like you were only on for like 30 minutes, so we didn't get into a lot of this stuff. So I want to save plenty of time for that for I guess for this section. But yeah, down there in Austin, I think you mentioned that if you go to Austin, you'll automatically connect to like I guess it's the maximum number of nodes you can connect to in Meshtastic, which is 30 something or whatever it is. You can automatically be connected to an alternative network infrastructure there in Austin, Texas, which ties into, and I guess I'll just, so there's Bitcoin mining dryer, co-working network effect. This is these various items of it, Lab 484, what you guys are building there in Austin. But yeah, Bitcoin mining dryer, co-working network effect, Bitcoin mesh vending machines, which I like the sound of that. Want to hear more about that for sure momentarily. But our own node, Neode, Kitchen 484, web5guys.com, alternative fuel, Web5 health, and Bitcoin poker. So yeah, there's plenty to go into on all of these fronts. But I guess I guess the way that I'll lead this question, or want to turn it over to you, is like we've got a PAZNIA network here. Local, when people come out to events and such, give us like an idea of what these technologies have been able to, create in physical space and time, like, and what you guys have been able to, to do there. Very general question, but there's any sorts of ways you can go about answering it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, if you're going to build a mesh network, you need a place for infrastructure, right? You need a place for your antenna to connect. And you also need to work with other people locally to host relay nodes so that your mesh network can actually function, right? And so it takes a lot of community building. You can't build a mesh network without a community. It doesn't work. If you live out in the woods and your nearest neighbor is a mile away, congratulations, you can still be a part of the mesh network. It actually is 5 miles. That's where it's too far away. If you're 5 miles away from, everybody else, okay, it's going to be a little hard. You got to use Starlink. But as long as you're within 5 miles of another Bitcoin node paired with an antenna, a long-range Wi-Fi antenna, then you can be part of Bitcoin, the network. We call this Web 5, right? And so we believe that Web 5 is going to start in Austin, Texas. We're going to make Austin the mesh capital of the world.
Fuck yeah.
And in order to do that, we're going to have to collaborate, coordinate, and decentralize the internet architecture in Austin. And once we do that here, we'll be able to do that anywhere and everywhere else. And mainly because Bitcoin gives us the tools to do that.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So, so there are these individual items, and I guess I'll just kind of run through them because I mean, I don't know what all these things are, and I'm sure the listeners are curious too. But Bitcoin mining dryer, what's that?
Yeah, so Bitcoin mining is a huge part of the security and the network of Bitcoin. And so we need more mining. We need greater competition. And our vision is that everything that creates heat can be turned into a Bitcoin mining solution. So your clothing dryer, when you turn on your clothing dryer, you are paying to have electric dry your clothing. That's what it's for, right? And the sun could do that for free, but instead we're paying to dry our clothing. What if every time you used your clothing dryer, it paid you? And the way we can do that is by putting a Bitcoin miner into a clothing dryer. And that's what we've done at the lab. Lab 484 is the laboratory of all material provision for your divine life path. And so people that come to Lab 484 for any amount of time, they get the tools and the knowledge and the experience necessary to fulfill their mission as far as Bitcoin goes. And that's what we've designed the lab to be. And the Bitcoin mining dryer, the clean coin dryer, you can launder your Bitcoin, will literally be one of those products that come out of the lab that we think will change Bitcoin forever.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful, man. Yeah, beautiful. I love it. I love it. So co-working network effect. Yeah, I guess elaborate on that for
Yeah,
a couple
so
cents would be good.
So we need to be able to collaborate in a greater intensity. I love Bitcoin because it's decentralized, and that decentralization fractures the communications and the communities within Bitcoin. You go to any city and there's like factions of Bitcoiners that are like spread out and decentralized, and they don't like each other, and it's really hard to get all of the Bitcoiners on the same page. I mean, we could just look at Bitcoin Twitter, and it's obvious to see that there is no there is no singular Bitcoin culture, right? And so a co-working location is interesting for Bitcoin, and it works because of the network effects. And so our lab is designed to have the most network effects possible. And the way we do that is we have hardware that you typically can't access or find out in the regular world. We specialize in open source tech, code, self-hosted AI servers, all kinds of amazing things like that. And the developers that come here, they're able to co-work alongside other developers who are building similar types of technology or using different but complementary types of technology. And we're able to learn from that and strengthen Bitcoin overall with our individual gifts and talents. And so the best thing I can think of for Bitcoin is more co-working locations.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm with you. I'm with you for sure. It's hard. I've always said that one of the biggest hurdles from getting folks from the first realm, which is the realm of slavery, into the second realm of autonomy and peace, is the financial aspect. And Bitcoin can undergird a lot of these things, and for liberated individuals with a with creative minds, can come up with a lot of really cool solutions on how to not be dependent upon the first realm. But no, I like that, and any way we can encourage that is obviously a must. Obviously a must. So Bitcoin mesh vending machines. Is this just as basic as it sounds? Like mesh network, or I guess vending machines. Instead of using credit cards and first realm internet, you're just doing it over mesh network or Lightning or whatever. Is that kind of the long and short of it?
Yeah, well, the idea is that if Bitcoin has its own internet, then you should be able to share more than just financial data over that internet, right? And so a vending machine that runs Lightning, Fedimint, eCash, it accepts, whatever type of Bitcoin you want to give it. That's a great thing. And then to have that mesh network attachment to the vending machine to give it the ability to vend even if the internet goes down. That's another winner. And then finally, to have a Bitcoin miner inside of it, as well as a relay node to relay Nostr, that's the ultimate. And so if you have 5 of these vending machines around town, you have kind of the backbone of your mesh network, as well as using everyone's cars. You can add technology into your car to be a mesh relay. You can add all of this technology stack into many different types of packages. And that's the best way to scale a mesh network. We don't want to put towers everywhere like the internet service providers have with the cell phone
put nodes in,
towers.
dual function sort of things. Like if you're gonna have a vending machine, put a fucking mesh network in there. If you're gonna have whatever, just toss a mesh chastic or rectangle node on there. Like exactly.
We need mesh networks and traffic lights. I mean, everything should be interoperable with each other like Legos.
Yeah, and I remember talking to this would have been back in like 2017. But talking to Brian Sovereign, and he was talking about this, how everyone has a potential mesh network node in their pocket at this present day and time. Like if we didn't live in such like a shit first realm infrastructure where again, as you were talking about earlier, we were outsourcing our cellular communications entirely to third parties. But every single one of those devices is mesh network capable. Which I guess I'm curious your thoughts here. I've actually got it on. Last time I talked to Shadrach, I guess I didn't download. Thankfully, I didn't download the bad version that was going around because I asked for a phone number, and I thought that was weird. But BitChat actually, Jack Dorsey, and we're not going to get into Jack Dorsey. I've got mixed thoughts on that, but this app is actually pretty interesting in a mesh networking sense. So I'm curious, have you done any R&D with BitChat and like obviously like what you were talking about earlier, like making this stuff easily accessible to people is like the goal, and BitChat incorporates like Bluetooth and mesh network, like I guess a lot of this technology all into one very simply. So I'm curious if that's if that might be an easy possibility, as long as it's vetted and all that.
Yeah, it's really important. BitChat is doing some things that we wanted to do, and it's just accelerated the timeline for Bitcoin-based mesh network adoption. And essentially, for those who are listening that you don't know, BitChat is a Bitcoin-based kind of chat app that turns your phone into a mesh phone. It basically relays messages to other users using your Bluetooth. And then they've opened that up to different types of communication forms, whether it be through radio signal or even infrared. I saw someone was working on different types of, communications with light. And I do think that actually might be the future is light data transmission, but we'll talk about that later. That's another show. And so your phone right now could be a mesh network. Your computer could be a mesh network. Your television could be everything could be mesh if open source software was the norm. But unfortunately, we're all buying Apple phones, and we're all buying Windows computers and Apple computers, and the software is locked down, and they really prevent you from being free and sovereign. They want you to be dependent on them. And this is something that I used to think about in the terms of them doing something to us. I used to very much feel like these big tech companies were, trying to harm us. And in some ways, I still think that. But ultimately, what I've come to realize is we are the ones who are choosing this.
Yeah.
We're the ones who know that ChatGPT is stealing all of our data and we keep using it. We're the ones who are buying that new phone. So why would they stop? If
Yeah,
you
the
buy
demand's
Oreos,
there.
they're going to
Yeah.
make more Oreos. If you buy healthy food, they're going to start making more healthy food. If you use privacy tech, they're going to build more privacy tech. Instead, we've gone for the fast food option as far as tech goes every single time. And so the solution, it really is with us. We need to make different tech choices. And that's what Bitcoin gives us, that ability to make a different choice. And so, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's exactly right. But thankfully, there are quite a few listeners to the Vonu Podcast and Liberty Tech Radio from back in the day and all who use ghost devices, ghost pads, ghost phones, etc. But there, obviously, hopefully, some new listeners too that are not using those, and they may be interested in liberating themselves. Tech-wise from all these things. Even just a basic thing like stepping up to Linux is so much better than Windows. But when you get on a Ghost pad with a liberated IME, open source IME, Intel management engine, replaced with an open source version, that really steps things up. And having a graphene-based Ghost phone now, I guess Calyx isn't recommendable until they get their shit together, I guess.
I've been using open source keyboard, and it's amazing.
Open source keyboard. Okay, is that an app on
Keychron.
What's it called?
Keychron.
Keychron. Okay.
Yep, that is the best keyboard manufacturer that at least I've come across, and their keyboards are open source, so there's no keylogger.
Right.
I can reprogram the keys to be whatever I want them to be. But yeah, open source is always better. That's the crazy thing, is we help clients every single day set up their private secure stack, and they always assume that by switching to Linux and Graphene OS, they're going to be losing a ton of functionality. In reality, they get more choice because you get to decide what you want running on your device. You can run apps that Apple and Windows would never let you run. So yeah.
Yeah, and I've ranted about it. It's why when I had those apprehensions back around until 2020, then I said, "Fuck it, I'm going to take the dive and just replace all my everything but my some of the Windows one of the Windows machines I use for the radio network. That's still a necessity for a couple of these very end. I guess for some of these, very edgy use case scenarios, but everything else can be done on a Linux machine with Ubuntu or whatever operating system. I haven't used really much else other than Ubuntu, but or Ubuntu Creator Studio. But yeah, I mean it's huge just in the bloatware aspect. But once you get into these theories we're talking about now, it's crazy how enslaving these.
What's crazy is how much battery life I get off my graphene phone. I charge my graphene phone like once every 2 days, and back when I was using my other phone, I was charging it like 3 times in one day.
Yeah, I've noticed. I've noticed that too. I stepped up. We had the last Ghost phone we offered was the 3A, and Calyx recently, I guess within the past couple of years, stopped doing that. So we upgraded, and I upgraded my Ghost phone. That's what I've noticed about the new, I don't know. Yeah, the new Ghost phone. The Pixel 7 Pro, the battery life's like 2 days. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and for any of the listeners who haven't yet switched to Linux, look, I'm not trying to, pressure anyone, but you have until October where they're going to put OpenAI directly into the operating system. So everyone's data, if you're using Windows or Apple, it's going to be going to OpenAI. I highly recommend people seriously consider switching now before they have to switch, right? Getting the switch is always better than having the switch.
Yeah, that's true. And they are user-friendly phones, guys. It's nothing different. I switched from iPhone a long time iPhone spy phone user to an Android Ghost phone, and no issue. But no, you're exactly right. I saw someone make, or I guess this is something I came across a year or so ago. But AI is going to be baked into the to the operating system level of these things. And I guess one of the recommendations from the video I remember is like if you're talking to someone who has one of those, you've got to create like a different profile on Graphene to talk to them. Otherwise, your shit's harvested, and it's like, oh, this is another layer of complexity. But as we would expect, But anyway, so I guess the next line on here is our own node Neode. Which I guess might be kind of like the Ghost server here for PAZNIA. But what can you tell us about that?
Yeah, we're really excited about that. I mean, when you talk about Web 5, everything goes back to where is the server, right? When people tell me, oh, I've got this new app, immediately I ask them, great, where's the server? Right? Oh, I bought this new device. Awesome. Which server does it talk to? And so the server is the most important ingredient in your sovereignty stack. Where is the server? And we found that in order for us to achieve our vision of Web 5, Bitcoin, the internet, we need a Bitcoin node that communicates over every single type of bandwidth that it can. We need a Bitcoin node that automatically knows how to switch to Bluetooth, to long range radio. I mean, just all the different types of communication protocols that exist in order to keep the network going. At the very least, if you're using Meshtastic, which uses very small bandwidth, it's like sending tweets to each other. If you're using Meshtastic, all of that bandwidth should be reserved for syncing the node. And if you have an already downloaded Bitcoin blockchain, it shouldn't be that hard to keep up to date with your node being synced with other nodes over that bandwidth. And so we are creating our own version of a Bitcoin node with the apps that we would like to see included into the Bitcoin nodes today. And also we're incorporating decentralized identity and verifiable credentials directly into the operating system, so that the first thing that you do when you start your new neode Bitcoin node is you create a avatar profile. And this is your Web 5 identity, your Bitcoin identity, if you will. And you can create as many of those as you want, just like you can create as many keys to wallets as you would like.
As many NIMs as you like, etc. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And
really, it's basically however much time you dedicate to each reputation that you build up. Yeah, that's what it is. You can start as many as you like to, but there might be one reputation that has 1,000, 5 stars, and that's a big trade-off versus a no-name NIM. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it takes time to build good reputation, right? And so people are not going to be.
You don't need first-term identity for reputation. This is one of my biggest things. But yeah, you're for sure.
Yeah, and right now there's not really a good system for managing your digital footprint or your identity. I love the work that Start9 is doing. I love the work that Umbrel is doing. It's not everything that you need for existing on a Bitcoin standard. And so we're going to be creating kind of our vision of Web 5, and it starts with running a Bitcoin node that gives you the full functionality of a private server.
Amazing, man. Amazing. So I guess we'll keep moving through these. Well, I guess before we do that, I'll say that we are an hour, past an hour through the broadcast. So if anyone wants to call in and ask any questions, anything like that, PAZNIA.CHAT/PRN is the link to join. I'll take you to our self-hosted Jitsi server. All you got to do is configure audio and or video settings. It's up to you. We got a couple fellow Jisters here in chat. They may just be listening, but I'll give them a moment here, or I'll just say if anyone has wants to unmute and jump in, feel free. I'm not going to stop just in case you're listening. Don't want to interrupt the flow too much, but please just unmute and jump in if you're there. We're happy to chat and have you here. So anyway, we'll just roll on as if they're listeners. Kitchen 484, and this is really practical. This is the first implementation I saw of what you guys were doing. And basically, you go to the site, and you can order, seed oil free, or highly, organic, high quality food. And basically, I guess tell us a bit about implementation of that, and the checkout flow. How does someone come in or how does someone make a digital purchase, kind of like they would in Austin if they were to go through DoorDash or something? Like what? I guess tell us a bit about this.
Yeah, so the food truck, Kitchen 484, it's a kitchen dedicated to serving the lab. And we have about 25 people, give or take, on the daily here. And so the kitchen is pretty busy. But it's a food truck that is serving high quality food for members only. Everything about it is private.
Nice.
And so we have a PMA, a private membership association. People have to sign documents to be able to buy food from Kitchen 484. It's not advertised to the public. If you go to the website, you'll notice there's like no address, there's no phone number. It's real. You have to know us to be able to eat here.
Yep.
And we have a Fediment that's running all of the payments. So we have our Fediment servers. We have eCash that will soon be available directly on the site with Cashu as well. We want to accept all of the different types of Bitcoin that we can accept, right? And basically turn it on to on-chain Bitcoin and use that to run our food truck. The interesting thing about the food truck is it's off-grid. So we use a generator, and we focus on using renewable fuel for the generator. So we have some prototypes of generators running off of alternative fuels that you can make yourself with olive oil, coconut oil. We've run a small vehicle off of wine. We ran it off of a number of different alternative fuels and mixtures. But that's ultimately the goal, is to have your own energy, right? In order to be sovereign, you have to have energy independence, food sovereignty, and data sovereignty. You have to own the hardware, the software, and the data. And so having energy powering your node, powering your servers, powering your Fediment, that is really important. And the truth is that our grid is not designed for the amount of energy that we're using, and it will go down at some point. So I believe that getting into alternative fuels and alternative ways of making energy should be a huge focus for many Bitcoiners, because energy is how Bitcoin runs. That's like the very basis of what makes Bitcoin safe and secure. And we should be looking at creating our own energy just as much as running our own node.
Yeah, man. Wow, you just dropped a lot of really great shit there. I mean, we could sit here and talk for about an hour about high quality foods, I'm sure. But I guess where I'd rather, that's I guess Kitchen 484 is kind of a microcosm of what we can build, as an entire second realm. It's truly amazing.
I really like the second realm term that you use. It's very fitting.
Well, I appreciate that, but it was definitely not my origination. Second realm book on strategy. I'll mention it's the best and most valuable book ever to be published. That was nestled away on a Anarplex.net. And that was Smuggler and XYZ, whoever XYZ is. But Smuggler is a known entity now. And it's the best, I guess, other than Servile Society and like Vonu Homebase and Vonu Terminology. There's nothing better than First and Second Realm. If you're not just trying to be out by yourself in a tent in the middle of the woods, which most people don't want to be. So we got to build where people are.
If Bitcoin doesn't have everything that we need, then it won't defeat the CBDC. We literally need to create a second realm. It can't be just an app that you download. It can't just be some software that you run. It has to be an entire ecosystem. And that's really what the lab is dedicated to doing, is building Bitcoin ecosystems where someone can literally live off of Bitcoin. They have all the conveniences of normal life, but it's all based on Bitcoin and based on your identity with Bitcoin.
Yeah, and I think that's to a large extent. I know Frank's doing a lot of research into Zcash now from his X account, but for privacy reasons, certainly there are problems with Bitcoin, especially problems with Bitcoin privacy on the main chain, but no, this is kind of the avenue that I've seen some of the more hardcore cypherpunks go, and that's one of the comments that Shadrach made, is that the infrastructure is a lot. I think they have like a 10-year head start on us on infrastructure. So that's interesting. In terms of alternative fuel, we talked about this a little bit, but I want to drop it in here again. That there are so many breakthrough energy technologies that could, drastically change the landscape of the way that we think about energy today. I don't think people understand that. God damn it, I don't even want to get into the basic shit. But like that, at the end of the day, all you're doing is you're harvesting hydrocarbons. So however you can do it the most efficiently, and better yet, like over unity, as they say in the breakthrough energy realms, that's the way to go about it. Or if there are, free resources laying around like firewood or charcoal or whatever can be used, whatever you can harvest from. Those are avenues of interest. But and I think you I guess you kind of went into into some of your alternative energy investigations. But is there anything else? This is Free Energy Friday, so I want to take a few minutes here if we can before we move on to some of the more fun, some of the other fun topics like Bitcoin gambling and stuff. But yeah, alternative fuel is there anything else that you guys are working on? Anything of interest? I mean, there's lots of things of interest for us, but you guys are doing a lot of stuff in the practical real world shit. So yeah, tell us a little bit more if you can. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So the alternative fuel economy is going to be huge, and it would be best if it ran off of Bitcoin because Bitcoin is a large consumer of energy, right? You need it for mining, you need it for the nodes. And so really the energy creation is just as important as, the self-hosted nature of Bitcoin. If you're relying on someone else's energy to power your node or power your servers, then ultimately you're still using a third party, a trusted third party for your Bitcoin stack. And so the energy thing is the hardest to get because it's so rare to find energy solutions that don't come from the gas station or a store. We haven't been taught how to create energy. Most people don't know how electric works.
Yeah, or the people that created the solutions were killed. Suicide.
Well, yeah, and exactly, and so it's really difficult to break into this area and to bring decentralization, but it's extremely important, and I think that in the very near future, it will be so trivial. It's going to be obvious that alternative energy was needed when the centralized grid goes down, right? And solar panels, windmills, water, hydro, all of these are old technologies. There are new technologies coming out that will make energy free, not free. Yeah, that's actually something I would like to talk about is free energy versus available energy. Because even if the energy generation is free, the availability of using that energy is normally restricted, right? And so sending energy over 200 miles of lines of copper line, that's as far as you can go. You need to have all kinds of infrastructure to get electric to its destination. And so even if we had free energy that didn't cost anything, available energy would still be a high demand. But I believe it's here. The issue is the pipes. The grid is not stable enough, not developed enough, not modern enough to be able to handle the needs of the human race energy wise in the future. We need way more energy than what we have available to us today. And I am curious how that's going to play out.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess I am too, considering like the leftist socialist infrastructure development was windmills, and the one that the conservatives are in favor of now is solar panels in the grid. At least they like it because they get a lot of money leasing their valuable farm land and acreage for solar panels, but no, those aren't going to do it. Those aren't going to do it with the demands, and there's going to be a forced change, and I guess there's going to be, some sort of forced change, and I hope it's not another bottleneck like we're looking into. But the good thing is it doesn't matter for us. It doesn't matter for us because, as your website, you don't market publicly. PAZNIA, it's a private vetted network. Who gives a fuck what they're doing? It doesn't matter. We can come up with our own breakthrough energy and release it through the underground without any inclination of patents, any inclination of monetization beyond beyond voluntary voluntary donations, via Bitcoin or Monero or whatever. Um, as we roll it out to people who are trusted and vetted. Is kind of the division that I've had, and this year will be a very interesting Vonu Fest, and I think we talked about this last time you were on. If you have any way you can get out here, September 22nd to was it 22nd 29th, I think it is Vonu Fest coming up next month. Should get definitely would recommend.
Where's it at?
It is an hour and a half east of St. Louis. To give a
Okay.
general area. I think Shadrach mentioned there was an event happening in Missouri right before that, and at the time it was actually pretty great for Meshadil folks. But I don't know anything about that. I just remember him
Cool,
saying
cool. On November the 5th, we have a Web 5 World Fair in Austin, Texas. And we're also going to be having a second location open up in New Hampshire. And that's going to be a lot of fun that day for the November 5th Web 5 World Fair. Remember the 5th of November.
Oh yeah.
We are going to be live streaming from both locations in New Hampshire and Austin, Texas, and the speaker lineup will be taking turns from one place to the other. So if you come to Austin on November 5th or you go to New Hampshire, you will be able to be a part of our event on November 5th. And it's basically a showcase of all of the Web 5 technology that we believe fits within the Web 5 definition for Bitcoin, the internet, that pushes Bitcoin forward and makes it even more sovereign. And so we'll have a number of technologies for demo. We'll have an immersive experience, kind of like Meow Wolf, but involving Web 5. It's going to be great. And you guys are invited to that as well.
Beautiful. So I have to ask, just because when I hear like Web3 shit on Twitter, like when the people talking about Web3 shit on Twitter, like I've never used the verbiage of like Web 1 to 2 or 3 or anything like that. But I guess define again, if you could, what Web 5 is versus versus Web 3 and Web 4, just for the folks who maybe.
Yeah, I would love to. And at first, I wasn't really comfortable with the term Web 5 either, but I haven't found a good way to differentiate what already exists from what Bitcoin is going to give us.
Yeah, it's
And
hard.
the best way that I've found to explain this would be that the internet has gone through 5 levels of decentralization. The first level would be Web 1, where individuals were given decentralized access to databases that were centralized, run by, governments and colleges, right? Academia. They were just collecting all this data. Web 2 is where we were given an identity by big tech. And now it's no longer those giant databases. Now it's decentralized companies managing our digital identity for us. We log in with our Google account. We sign up with our email. All of these are third-party, things. Web 3 gave us the private key. That's really what it did, is it unlocked ownership on the internet for the very first time. With Web 3, whatever it is, whether you and I like it or not,
Well,
people
it was kind of a reclamation.
something.
It was kind of a reclamation of, or it was like it's like the fuck, we've given up so much, like we need this at least, like let's go for this, like
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's my view. At least.
And the Web 4 would be mesh networks, because when in Web 4 we now have identity, but what we don't have is decentralized communications. We have to use the internet service provider to get our message across. And so Web 4 would just be the mesh networks. And so what is Web 5? Well, Web 5 is a Bitcoin node connected over a private mesh network to another Bitcoin node. It is the next evolution of the internet, where we don't need a third party for any part of it.
Yep.
There is absolutely no user agreements. There's no trusted third parties. And that is a hard thing to define. And For us, it makes sense. We've grown to love Web 5, but if someone else comes up with a better name, BitNet was already taken in the 90s.
No,
Sorry,
Web
guys.
5. No, I've heard like Web. I thought we were like Web 4 was next, so it's like Web 5. I like it's not bad. Like I understand I understand. Like there's no like it's hard to market this sort of shit, and that's not the goal of it anyway. So, no,
Yeah.
I understand it. I understand entirely. Um, oh gosh, there are quite a few ways to go here. Quite a few ways to go. I will mention again, PAZNIA.CHAT /PRN if anyone wants to call in. Go for for a little longer here. If anyone wants to jump in, we've got other stuff to talk about too.
It's been a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, no, I've appreciated this greatly. I appreciated when you hopped in for that short time. And I guess we can get into a little, I guess maybe more fun topics. But something that I've gotten into recently, I guess, again, is NFL. And one of those things is I've been looking for like a Monero or Bitcoin site that I can go and gamble on. That's kind of like the main ones. But one of the things on here is Bitcoin poker. I mean, I'm sure there's a far more reaching vision than what I'm thinking in my mind here. But yeah, tell us a bit about how Lab 484 is doing this sort of thing.
Yeah, well, we also thought about Bitcoin poker, online poker. I got started playing Bitcoin poker back in 2016, and ultimately, have you seen those poker chips with the Bitcoin wallet on one side, and it has like a Caucasus coin sticker that you peel off, the hologram sticker, and it reveals the private key? Have you? Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
might have been like a decade ago, but yeah.
Yeah, so people have done that. They've taken poker chips and put a denomination of Bitcoin onto the poker chip, and then they have the QR code, and you put the tamper evident, hologram sticker on it to prevent people from stealing the Bitcoin off the poker chip. It's a good idea, but if you were to do it today, there would be no way that you could do it. Your transaction fees would be crazy, right?
Yeah.
Imagine paying 60 cents per poker chip just to get the Bitcoin on there. And then someone wants to sweep the wallet, and it just doesn't really work. However, this is a great example of why Fediment and eCash is so important, because it's going to give you the ability to add Bitcoin to each poker chip without transaction fees. And the best part is it's guaranteed that someone is going to end up taking chips home as a souvenir, losing the chips. All sorts of things can happen, and we don't want to lose the Bitcoin. So all of our Bitcoin for our poker games, that exists on a Fediment server, and we are adding Fedi eCash to custom-made poker chips that people can use
Okay.
for playing poker, and also they can keep them as a souvenir. As long as the lab exists, that Bitcoin is on the poker chip, and if they want to sweep it to their wallet and spend it at bitrefill.com, they can totally do that. But Bitcoin poker just really gives a good example of a use case of something that Bitcoin
This is
could once
IRL.
do
I
and
was thinking
can't do
digital.
anymore.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
IRL. That's huge. Wow.
Yep. Yeah. So we're making the chips this month, and we're going to be hosting poker tournaments for Bitcoiners that are also poker enthusiasts. We're not trying to gamble. We're not going to turn the lab into a place to
Right.
be rambunctious, but we do want to have fun with our friends,
Of
and
course, yeah.
playing poker with eCash on the chips. I don't know of anyone else that has put Fediment eCash on poker chips, and we want to be the first.
I think you might have pulled that one off there. I think you might have. Yeah. No, this is amazing, and I'll reiterate for the listeners here that when we get into the topic of Fediments or eCash, everything is trade-offs. If you go on Bitcoin main chain, you sacrifice. 10 minutes isn't bad. I don't mind 10 minutes. People bitch about it. I think it's as Polycarp said earlier. 10 minutes, that's nothing. Like even mainstream sites take an hour using fiat, even though it's instantaneous. So. Yes, well, some do. Some do. So yeah, 10 minutes doesn't matter, but the privacy on chain matters. You gain a lot of privacy going through, Cashu or Fediment, and this is kind of And I guess the kind of the thing I like to close out with here is more of a practical area. Like if we want to start a PAZNIA mint, how would you go about doing that, like physically? And I guess whatever else comes to mind on that. But I'll leave it open for the listeners here. One more time, PAZNIA.CHAT/PRN if you want to give us a call, or you can go to PAZNIA.CHAT/SimpleX Radio and drop us a message there. I'll check here as soon as I turn it back over to Mr. Polycarp here. This has been absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. I suppose we'll go with that. If I want to start a if we want to start a PAZNIA mint, kind of this same sort of thing. We're gonna trade, trusting a random third party node, for a trusted PAZNIA node. Like or a trusted PAZNIA mint. Like what does that look like? Like what's the physical implementation of setting up a PAZNIA mint for this sort of thing?
Yeah, I mean, I could really envision you guys running a Fediment and your own Nextcloud. Are you familiar with Nextcloud?
Oh yeah. So I had just until a few months ago, I had the PAZNIA library on Nextcloud, the local PAZNIA library on Nextcloud. But there's some issue, that's got to be resolved. Not a big one, but I've got to. It just takes time. It takes time for maintenance. It hasn't happened yet. But anyway, yes, I am familiar with Nextcloud. Very intimately familiar.
Yeah, so I think every community and every Bitcoin community requires a Fediment and their own Nextcloud, a publicly accessible one. I think that is the ultimate. And so using your Nextcloud and merging that with Fediment is something that we are actively working on for building sovereign communities. We think that's a key to be able to manage your data securely and also your money, right? If you're just dealing with money, you're missing half of the conversation. So running a Fediment would consist of four Guardian servers, and those servers are managing all the communications and transactions for your community. And then when people send Bitcoin from your Fediment servers over to their wallet, that's when it moves off of your Fediment servers. And that's basically what it would look like. It would be like 4 or more guardians of your community running a server, and then those 4 people or more are responsible for whatever Bitcoin is in the community. And you would only keep the amount of Bitcoin in your community that makes sense for community services. One of the reasons why this is important is if the Bitcoin is in your Fediment and it doesn't move, there is no taxable event. So I can purchase things from you, you can buy fuel from me, and all of that is entirely private with no taxable events.
Right. Yeah.
And so yeah.
So yeah, I guess that's another layer of of privacy and security. There is that if you go through eCash, and again, we're talking about trade-offs here. At the end of the day, we're talking about trade-offs. But this is you're trusting, like for PAZNIA, you're trusting me for some things if you use the PAZNIA, PAZNIA dojo or whatever. This is huge. It truly is huge. I guess the question I have for you is, so the Ghost server that, and this is something that's available to any PAZNIA. I guess anybody. Send me an email, Shannon@libertariantech.com. But it's a Ghost server, and he just puts it in an old tower, like old computer tower, and it's a big bulky motherfucker, GPU, CPU wise, all that. But it comes with what's it called, Proxmox, and it's just basically virtual machines of Start OS.
That's so cool.
And I love Start OS just for the fact there's what's his name, Linkin Park Rules on Twitter or on X, not phonetically how you would sound. There's no whatever. You just go find him on Twitter, whatever. If I'm talking, you probably know what I'm talking about. But he's one of the big maintainers of Start OS. I think he was one of the ones that was involved in getting the dojo added to the main catalog. I wonder, for Fedimints, they're already on that same sort of page. Maybe they're already working on it. I don't know, but I mean, the one-click sort of install. I don't know about Umbrel. I've heard bad things about Umbrel. But I've also heard bad things about Start OS. But then again, Dave's one of our fellow PAZNIans. Yeah, he was on one of our early PAZNIA SecRealm assemblies, and he used to work for Start OS.
I love
very
them
simple, but
both.
yeah.
They're
Yeah.
great, and anything that we make is going to be, you know, backwards compatible. It'll just be something you can add on to Start 9 Umbrel, or you can
Perfect.
buy
Okay.
our node as well, which will have hardware, additions that other nodes don't. But ultimately, I run them both. I have an Umbrel and I have a Start 9, and I run them for different reasons. Start 9 is super secure. Umbrel is super easy to share with friends,
Perfect. Okay.
and,
There we
and so
go.
that's
Yeah.
kind of the difference I see there.
So it's like Calyx and Graphene then, to a
Yeah,
certain extent.
exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. And I use Calyx on that end, so I'm
Yeah.
on different ends of both. But yeah, no, that's amazing, and I'm even happy to hear that the Bitcoin poker thing is an IRL thing. Just because, I was thinking about what someone who stays here at PAZNIA occasionally does some development for football. I don't know, some sort of football gambling site or something. And it's
Mhm.
like I wish I could find. I've looked in depth to try to find like an equivalent to like DraftKings, like a black market DraftKings sort of thing. It'd be cool as fuck. I don't know. All of this stuff is super complicated. And I would much rather put my time into like mesh networks and stuff. But that is
Yeah.
a monetizable opportunity, I think, if someone wants to come out with something like that.
Well,
Minera and
we
Bitcoin.
definitely want to build community, and poker is a good way to do that. But so is conferences. It's important to host conferences and to go to conferences. And if anyone wants to come to our Web5 conference on November 5th and play some poker with us, that'd be a lot of fun. Our website for that is conference.l484.com. So if anyone is interested in coming to the Web5 World Fair, meeting us in person, any of that, check out conference.l484.com.
Awesome. Yeah. No. I'd really recommend. Yeah. Anyone make it out there if they can. I don't know. I'll have to see it. It's very, very unlikely. It's hard to go away from the homestead, other than a couple times a year. But we'll see.
I totally
We'll
get it.
see.
It's hard for me to travel too.
Yeah. But no, it sounds it sounds amazing. Shadrach mentioned yeah, there's a lot of amazing stuff happening in Austin, and I lived there for maybe this stuff was happening then, but it would have been like oh god, when that was it, mid 2018 was when I was in Austin for a couple months until I made the move
Yeah,
back.
I moved in 2023.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's way before. It was disappointing when I went to Austin back in those days because there were like two two milestones. Like you go see Brave New Books in downtown Austin, which is like the crypto anarchist hotspot, or it was. But I got there a year after they closed down, so it was like there's nothing here anymore. Like shit. Yeah, just homeless people under an interstate. But that's not how it is now, and I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, and Bitcoin is giving us that bright future where wherever you're living, if it is dark like that, we can make it better.
Hell yeah.
Fiat and interest, that's really the culprit, right?
Yeah,
Fiat
just
ruins
fiat
everything.
mind, just fiat mind everything. Yeah, I mean, start thinking differently. Whether we're talking about health or fuel, or whatever, it's basically it comes down to like to imagination. Like imagination can be distracting, but on the other hand, imagination gets you to these other possibilities that they don't exist on the first home note card. They don't exist. So think big. So I've always said, even think as big as you possibly can, and then cut down after that. Like go from decommissioned aircraft carriers down to like floating airships or something like that.
Man, that sounds like it's going to be a hackathon theme that we're going to do. Right now, we've been having weekly hackathons at Lab 484, and the one before this weekend, that was breaking a Bitcoin wallet. We're basically having a Bitcoin wallet that someone in our community lost their password to, and so we're learning together how to brute force that. We have a number of topics lined up for our hackathons every weekend because it's a wartime effort. We have to build Web 5 because that CBDC is coming. And so if anyone wants to come to Austin and experience Lab 484, we'd love to have you join our hackathon. And I'll be posting a link to that in the chat as well.
Perfect. Yeah, and send that to me. I'll put it in the show notes. I want to make sure people can get any way they can get connected with you. Yeah, we need to make that happen. Because that's one thing with Shadrach is, for me, like I don't have much of an overlap with the Bitcoin community, other than like Samurai Wallet folks, which they're not really communicable now. You can't really communicate with those folks. But there's not really much overlap between this, I guess, my second round community. Like I say, it's not mine, but you know what I'm saying. Like the community I'm associated with, there's not much overlap between the Bitcoin community, and there's such a huge possibility here. And Shadrach sees it as well. With the logistics and transportation, we're on the same pages for all of these things, and it's so beautiful to see. There's so much overlap that's possible, and I hope we can make it happen. Obviously, we're not gonna plan that here on the live stream, but regardless, the blocks are laid, and we can start to build privately, in the second realm, in private, where we can disclose, on our own volition what we reveal and what we do not reveal, and that's what's most important, I think. Whether it's transactions, communications, or whatever. But I suppose I'll just turn it over to you if you got any thoughts here, and we'll check chats, and we'll begin to close out here maybe. But yeah, what do you got, brother?
I mean, I've got one thing that I would like to bring into the consciousness.
Please.
If anyone is listening and you have a Bible background, or you've read about the story of the Tower of Babel, I would really like to talk about that. I had a realization recently that the story and the narrative of the Tower of Babel is all about centralization. If you think about it, there's one guy that rules the whole world, and he enslaves the entire world to build him the biggest tower that's ever existed. I mean, it is classic centralization, right? And no one could say no. And what was it that gave power to this incredible amount of centralization? It was a common language. One language was used to rule over, and that's what God did, according to the stories, according to the Bible, that
the Bible, Bibble, Babble of Babylon. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the Bible Babble. Ultimately, God changed the language of all the people that were there. And so the king that was evil and centralized tells his guard, go kill those people. And the guard just doesn't understand what he's saying. And in the change of language immediately decentralized the power structure.
Wow. Holy shit. That's actually that's paradigm shifting in my mind. Because that's kind of the I don't know, like the mystery school interpretation of that is that that division was actually what caused the everything we're experiencing today. That was like kind of the root cause, was that I guess the dividing of the tongues. But no, maybe that was the initial launch point of the decentralization. It's like that was the if you look at, you might not be able to see this now, but if people look on the video screen behind me, you've got the Walter Russell like whirlpool sort of things, sort of art behind me. I don't know. That's very, very interesting, man. Wow.
It gets even deeper, right? So we have a modern Tower of Babel that has enslaved everybody.
Okay.
No matter who you are, no matter what culture you have, right? And it's the computer language.
Binary language.
I mean, doesn't matter who you are, they got you.
Yeah.
And so if we can confuse and decentralize the languages that computers speak, I believe we can disrupt the power structures that are currently presiding over us, right? Like literally, if my computer network could only speak to other computers within the network that I've voluntarily connected to, and other computers couldn't understand what we were saying, that is the same as the Tower of Babel. It would have the same effect, where the few people at the top no longer are holding all the power.
Yeah,
Instead,
everyone can communicate on the same language or wavelength,
as
regardless
peers.
of the import or export of however whatever frequency they are. So I guess the thing I'll close out with here that's fucking amazing, dude. And this overlaps with kind of the PAZNIA Radio Network thing, where way too many times, and I am victim to this myself too. So when I call people out for being controlled schizophrenics, I'm calling myself out. And this is one of those cases, in the sense that, like, when I thought about transmitting pirate radio, I went on eBay and looked for AM/FM radio transmitters, and Jamin and I had a private call a week ago, and he was like, "No, dude, like you can transmit, like you can do this on like everything we're talking about with like Meshtastic or Reticulum, like you can do all that shit with like." No, like you're thinking wrong. Like he didn't say this, but this is my conclusion. I was thinking very, very wrong about this entire thing. Like I was thinking like $500 per pirate radio broadcaster as like the cost, and it's like no, not at all. We gotta stop thinking about it in that fiat mind, where you go on eBay or PayPal, or not PayPal, but eBay or Amazon, and look for the solution. It's like no, the solution is the one that the best solution is the one that we create ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what we have to do. No one's going to come and save us. We have to make the choice to stop using technology that enslaves us, and we have to start connecting with each other. We have the solution. They don't, right?
Connect with each other, not with the nameless third central parties. Yeah, exactly. Like that.
Yep.
If there's one sentence or phrase to remember from the Start broadcast, that's kind of it. That's kind of it. On every single level. But we've been going for about an hour and 45. Doesn't look like we'll have any call-ins. There might have been one or two, which I kind of why I was waiting around a little bit. But regardless, that's I'm trying to think of any closing questions or
I had a great time. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I love the verbiage of the second paradigm and all of that. And so I really think that with Bitcoin, we have a chance of building the alternative to the CBDCs. And I'm really honored to be able to be on the show and share it with your listeners, and to also get to know you better as well. Thank you for your time.
Hey, brother. No, it's been a true honor, and I hope it continues privately. I guess one last question, if you got a few minutes.
Sure.
Kind of conspiracy sort of angle. The CBDC is not happening, but there's all of the stablecoin shenanigans. I don't know as much about it, but I know there's what's her name? Whitney Webb's cohort. Mark Goodwin talks a lot about kind of the stablecoin conspiracy manipulation sort of thing. Like, no, you don't need a CBDC. You just need and this is even better than the CBDC, where you have like countries trading on your U.S. stablecoin. So do you have any? I mean, and it's shot in the dark. If you have anything, that's okay. Like I don't mind that. But if you have any thoughts, I'd love to hear them.
Yeah, I don't think it's real. I think that the CBDC is still coming. I'm looking at an article from 3 days ago. The FedNow program is still live and happening.
Ooh.
So yeah, I would say that the stablecoin stuff is just a ruse. It's a distraction from the CBDCs that are actually still coming.
Okay, well, I appreciate shit. Okay, well, I appreciate that. The stablecoin narrative was bad enough. I thought the CBDC stuff was I thought that was like the the Overton window, where they're like, we're gonna do a CBDC, and then it's like, oh well, stablecoins are great, and that's like the agreement point in the middle per se.
Yeah. 2 weeks ago, Rootable adds FedNow instant payments to accounts. Yeah, it's coming. It doesn't matter who's in the Titanic captain's chair. The Titanic is sinking.
Well, no, I get that.
There's no plan B for them, right? They have plan A, which is more centralization, more tyranny.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and any Bitcoin, it's like I tell my my father. It's like there's Trump may be pro Bitcoin, but he's not pro Bitcoin privacy or any crypto privacy, and that's the difference. That's the big differentiating factor.
I mean, they're all pro votes, right?
Oh yeah. So yeah, they'll pander. Yeah, for sure. No, they'll fucking pander. They certainly will.
I mean, release the list. Like I would love,
Hell
I
yeah,
would love
there.
to. Yeah.
Can't do that. I think there's a guy that his name start at P and T, or like the first and last names. Less. He's kind of in control of like yeah, a lot of surveillance shit. I'm not
Yep.
trying to get sued here, but um
Surveillance capitalism. That's what it is.
yeah. Yeah, so the people who are in control of that, look at those folks because they control everything. And they're in control of this this White House too, which I never give any credence to. But the only credence I give to it is you like you have like the left hand of left hand of totalitarianism and the right hand of totalitarianism, and you just got to know which one's in charge, because it differs a little bit. But at the end of the day, it's all totalitarianism. You might be a little safer if you're a Bitcoiner at this point, but you're not once the AI gets put into place, and this is what's yeah. Anyway, I don't want to go there, but it's been great, man. It's been great. Love it. Any closing thoughts, or any people want to get in contact with you? How can they do it?
Yeah. Conference.l484.com. That's the website where people can sign up for our yearly conference on November 5th. Remember the 5th of November. And the party full invite I sent you here in the chat. If anyone wants to come to one of our hackathons, we would love to see you. And yeah, we're here in Austin, Texas, and soon we'll have our second location in New Hampshire. And we're looking to build this network. And anyone that has talent, capital, experience, we're looking for everyone's gifts and talents to build this network. It's going to take more than money. If people gave me all the money I could think of, I still couldn't do it because it's going to take talent, right? And it's going to take more than just vision. It's going to take the hands of many coming together to build this mesh network and to keep it up. And we're going to have to do it. So thank you, everyone who's listening. That's conference.l484.com. And I look to be part of the show again in the future.
Oh, for sure, man. I'd love to get you on. We haven't done PAZNIA Sec Realm Assembly in a long time, and the only couple we've done have been Department of Technology ones, featuring Dave from Start 9 at that time. And yeah, would love your wealth of information doing shit in real physical space and time, which a lot of people aren't. So I always appreciate that. I'll give one more opportunity here before I got a couple minute or so before I close out. Anyone listening on Jitsi or on the interwebs, PAZNIA.CHAT /PRN, give us a call. You got like 2 or 3 minutes to do so. But regardless, Polycarp, thank you so much, man. Much appreciated. We'll be in touch privately to hopefully do some coordination between our networks, because that's what's really needed at this point. I think it's just there's so many disparate networks. We just got to get connected.
I mean, we have a common goal, and that is a great incentivization.
For sure. Most certainly. But all right, guys, there you have it. Mesh networking, eCash, and more with Polycarp Nakomoto here on the PAZNIA Radio Network. Please do check out the website, PAZNIA.com, to learn more about and get involved with this growing PAZNIA Second Realm Network. I'm going to close out this Jitsi chat. But yeah, to follow the PAZNIA Radio Network, bookmark PAZNIA.com /radio. And subscribe wherever you happen to be tuning in. If you want to join the likewise versioning PAZNIA Radio Network Simplex group, just visit PAZNIA.com /Simplex Radio. And I did not check that chat before closing this out. I should do that, but there are too many things to do before closing this out that I'm not going to add another thing into it. I doubt anyone messaged there anyway. But anyway, tomorrow will be another Self-Liberation, Self-Defense Saturday transmission, starting at 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central with Thane Riddle's Cloak and Dagger. Then Volunteers Academy, starting at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Central, concluding with another installment of Vonu Podcast Live, just like you kind of heard tonight, only with our hardware hacker friend Jim Peconic. So with that, I'll close this one out. But yeah, I'll close this one out a little quicker than what I might usually. But yeah, we'll see you tomorrow on the PAZNIA Radio Network. Please, but don't go anywhere. There's still another 10 or 15 minutes left before we officially close out. Thanks so much for being here. Hope you enjoy the conversation. And, yeah, enjoy the PAZNIA Radio deprogramming.
You're listening to the PAZNIA Radio Network.
Now that the technological foundation is laid for the PAZNIA Radio Network, we are now ready to start building out a regular and more frequent transmission schedule of self-liberational media. Do you want to host your own show on the PAZNIA Radio Network? Do you already have a show or podcast that you would like premiered or replayed during our transmissions? Something else? Reach out to Coordinator Rayo to discuss details. Email coordinator@PAZNIA.com. Again, coordinator@PAZNIA.com. See you in the second realm.
While infrastructure costs for the PAZNIA Radio Network aren't exorbitant now, there are some costs. It will also increasingly demand more time as we move towards longer transmissions and more transmissions. If you'd like to help cover current costs and even the expansion of our efforts, please visit PAZNIA.com/shop. There, you can make a one-time fiat, Bitcoin, or Monero donation. You can become a stakeholder, and you can even order some one-of-a-kind PAZNIA merch, ranging from shirts to hats to flags, all the way to beach towels. Again, that link at PAZNIA.com/shop. Cheers from the Free Republic.
What you are hearing, folks, is for the first time in history the public revelation of the origin, the history, the dogma, and the identity of those who operate in secret to bring about a worldwide totalitarian socialist government. They are known to Christians as Mystery Babylon. It is an ancient religion. Those of you who are smart enough to know what is transpiring here know that these are historic broadcasts, and by making these broadcasts, I have sealed my fate. The sun enters each heavenly sign or house of the zodiac in what is called the 30th degree, and leaves at the 33rd degree. Thus, God's Son is said by the ancients to begin his ministry at 30 and dies at 33. A Freemason is not told the truth of the object of his worship until he attains the 30th degree. And this is why the highest degree in Freemasonry is the 33rd degree, for no one can rise higher than the sun. When viewing the shimmering rays of sunlight on a body of water at dawn or sunset, one can still see today how God's Son walks on water. It was well understood by ancient men that our weather was caused and controlled by the sun. It was a simple fact that God's Son had the power to control storms at will. The ancient Egyptians taught that he did this as he rested in his heavenly boat while crossing the sky. Thus we read that God's Son quieted the tempest or great storm on the sea while in his boat. Which boat? The boat of Isis. Ra, the sun god, also known as Osiris, in the bark of millions of years in which he traversed the heavens. He wears on his head and accompanies a vast sun disk symbolizing his powers as Lord of the heavens. The boat formed of a serpent bears his eye, and the god is seated on a pedestal representing Mayat, the divine order. folks, when we stop to realize that every single king, prince, lord, governor, dictator, despotic ruler, civil and social institution, national flag, coat of arms, educational institution, military medal, award, organizational insignia, medallion, badge, emblem, citation, trophy, banner, pendant, political standard, or ensign, agency of government, or religion uses the sun as a primary symbol, then it can truly be said in the mystery school that God's Son is, quote, King of Kings and Lord of Lords, unquote. A worldwide totalitarian socialist government. They are known to Christians as Mystery Babylon. It is an ancient religion. Those of you who are smart enough to know what is transpiring here know that these are historic broadcasts, and by making these broadcasts, I have sealed my fate. A worldwide totalitarian socialist government.
This is the basic law of life, and dear listeners, it is spiritual in its nature. If man failed to do everything in his power to protect his life, as a result of such neglect lost his life, then the destiny for which the soul came to earth would end there. Without life, a body or medium to function through spiritual attainment would be impossible, ladies and gentlemen. Spirituality would then be forfeited. You see, if man's life was threatened without cause on his part, and he failed to do everything in his power to prevent death, he would then be guilty of three actual crimes. He would first of all permit the enemy to commit murder. Next, he would be committing suicide by failing to protect the most precious possession given to man by his Creator. And worst of all, he would end whatever his destiny might be, the purpose for which body, mind, and life had been given to him. And I believe it's to learn something. In one respect, man is forced to be a warring, not a murdering creature. And I might inject here that the Ten Commandments does not say, in its original form, thou shalt not kill. It says, ladies and gentlemen, and you can check this, if you wish, go to the original Hebrew and Greek, it says, thou shalt not murder. So in one respect, man is forced to be a warring, not a murdering creature. From his birth, the law of self-preservation forces him to be on guard against every inimical force attempting to destroy him by one means or another. He must be on the alert to prevent man, natural forces, or his own carnal desires to betray him into acts of degradation. Man is a warring creature. But his war, I tell you, his war is an honorable one. It is one of protection. First himself, so that he may protect those he is responsible for, but in doing so must not take unfair advantage of others, nor be guilty of unrighteousness. The nature of this was and is actually spiritual. It is the battle of righteousness against evil. It is a war biblically spoken of as taking place in heaven because it is waged within man's spiritual nature. He fights to fulfill destiny and to finally create heaven on earth for himself and others who follow. By the war of righteousness, wherein there is no selfishness, he attains the consciousness which makes him a man, knowing both good and evil, having chosen good to attain the promised sonship. Notice, you must choose. You must choose. Each and every one of you listening to this broadcast tonight must choose, and you must choose very quickly. You might ask, is there actually a need for some form of evil in the life of man? Was this, together with some form of fear, ordained in the beginning? And I say nothing has been ordained, but if the divine law is to be fulfilled in the life of man, then it is certainly necessary that he, according to sacred concepts, become a crusader in God's cause and not exist as a negative, effortless, uncreative, unproductive creature, a leech-chased parasite upon the rest. The first command is that he must become a man in the true sense of the term, and this implies that he must prepare himself to meet the enemy that is ever alert to destroy the best that he has created. He must meet evil as the soldier meets the enemy. Doing this in the righteousness of his conscience neutralizes fear. Many of you call and ask me, Bill, aren't you afraid? My answer has always been and always will be no. No, no, and no. I know from where I have come, and I know where I am going. I know who I am, and I know that I possess a soul. I fear the actions of no man. I fear the judgment of no man. I fear only the judgment of my God. And I know that if I am doing what is right, I need not ever fear that judgment. And therefore, I am not afraid.
You've just heard a transmission of the P.A.Z.NIA Radio Network, the entertainment and propaganda arm of the Free Republic of P.A.Z.NIA, a public service of the P.A.Z.NIA Free